Good evening. My name is David, and this evening I'm running a session of Hearts of Wulin. Hearts of Wulin is a game, currently in development by Lowell Francis and Agatha Chang. It is a Powered by the Apocalypse game about wuxia melodrama, which we will be playing this evening. It's sort of heavily based on, sort of media references, things like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, that sort of thing, and particularly sort of Chinese dramas. So it's very, very heavily character focused. Is the idea, rather than just being sort of a pure action game. This game is being run as part of the Gauntlet calendar. So the Gauntlet's an online role-playing game community. We play a variety of different indie games of all stripes, from OSR to story games and pretty much everything else that comes under the indie umbrella. We have a family of podcasts, which are all very worth checking out. We have a monthly gaming zine called Codex, which has all sorts of either new indie games or sort of additional supplemental stuff for existing games. There are forums, and there's the calendar itself that we schedule games on, where you can sign up and play games like this one. All of this can be found at gauntlet-rpg.com, which is where sort of our central website with all sorts of links and stuff off of there. Cool. So we'll start things off this evening. I'll just ask each of the players to introduce themselves, and then we'll go through. I'll just get everyone to introduce themselves first, and we'll go back through. We'll introduce everyone's character and just give a brief overview of where we were last time we saw them. So yeah, as I said, my name is David. I use he, him pronouns. And I will go through in order of the character keepers. So, I know, if you'd like to go first, please.
I am Changing Wind, last remnant of the Jade Lake, bearer of the Lingering Dragon. I am a devoted swordsperson and one of the knights of the Wulin world. Although there are many who have devoted themselves to the martial way, none, or very few at least, have gone so deep as I. Well, and as a player, I'm Einar. I use he, him pronouns. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Cool. So, Puckett, if you'd like to go next, please.
Hi, I'm Puckett, he, him pronouns. I am playing Harmonious Evening Star Jin, she, her pronouns. She appears to be, I should say, a traveler, simple, humble peasant who walks the land. But she is also the last surviving master of the Silent Forest School and is searching for the people who killed her master. And someday, I suspect, she'll find them. I don't think she's going to have much mercy for them.
Brilliant, thank you. And Parham.
Hi, so my name is Parham. I also use he and him pronouns, and so does Ming, my character. So Ming is a rebel who is protesting, like the fact that what's the name of that clan? Shang. What's the name? Let me see.
Yeah, that's right. The Shang clan.
Yeah, the Shang clan. That they are corrupted, and he is trying to fix that situation by going in and getting involved wherever things show up. What else? Ming comes from a completely different school. He is an outsider. He comes from a different city. But while in school, he was being bullied by Steel Fan. And Steel Fan, last time we saw Ming, Steel Fan was going to beat him pretty much to a pulp. And then people stepped in, and Steel Fan agreed to a duel, and Ming said yes. So that was where we left off things with Ming in the last session.
Brilliant, thank you. And Pearl.
Hello, I'm Pearl. I use she and her pronouns. And I am playing Gentleman Bao-Yin, who uses he and him pronouns. At least I've been assuming he does, because he's a gentleman. But you never know. I think he is. Anyway, he is entangled more than actually purposefully associated with the Screaming Ghost Brotherhood, which is basically a bunch of scoundrels. But he's a traveling salesman who is always getting his hands into things that he probably shouldn't. And somewhere along the way, one of those deals got him entangled with said brotherhood. And since he is indebted to them, he is always trying to find a way to stop being indebted to them so that he will not accidentally get killed or, found out to be associated with them by someone who might not like it or something like that. But he's mostly kind of a goof. He fights in the style of the Dance of the Flying Rabbit, and recently used his scarf that he threw at someone's feet to cause them to trip, which was about as good a fighting move as he has generally. But he's lucky in fights, so he usually gets out of them somehow. And he is still pursuing Changing Wind, who rejected him, alas, despite the interference of Harmonious Evening Star Jin, who holds an unrequited love. And with said Harmonious Evening Star Jin, he has hidden his true identity because of his past with the aforementioned Screaming Ghost Brotherhood. But one day, he's going to become disentangled with them, and then Harmonious Evening Star Jin won't have anything to say about it, and then Changing Wind will be his. Probably not, because you rejected him, but still, in his mind.
He just has to use his scarf.
Yeah, and the sloth. Oh, he has a sloth?
Oh, yeah.
Also, and that's... I have all of my notes in front of me, and I cannot figure out where I named my sloth, which is making me sad. But it's a wonderful sloth, and he's going to use it to charm Changing Wind, I think, somehow.
Sloth's name is Lilu.
Thank you, Lilu, that's right. Lilu is the best sloth.
Oh, wow. Great memory.
Perfect. Thank you, Pearl. And finally, Stephen.
I'm Stephen, he, him pronouns, and I am playing Wei, who also uses he, him pronouns. Wei is the last remnant of the Jade Lake Temple. He was a child monk when the temple was attacked. He happened to be away from the temple doing an errand in a nearby village. He came back, the temple was wiped out. He's been a wandering monk ever since. He's this big, soft, cuddly guy. He looks like a friendly little panda. His nickname is Auspicious Dumpling, and he is in love with Hei Lao, who works in the kitchen of the inn at the Drifting Lotus. But when Madame Lao heard about his connection to the Jade Lake Temple, which is nearby, she got a very angry look in her eye, and unbeknownst to me, she has sworn revenge on me for, well, I don't know what. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, lost the tab that the screen was in. Yes, so we should now have a brief overview of who each other all are, and roughly what happened last time. So yeah, for the very quick sketch of like the big events of last session, we had the four of them who are here. We had all were at the inn. There were some conversations going on between various members of our party here, and that went on in terms of the action that happened. Yeah, the two big pivotal moments, I suppose, were the challenge between Steel Fan Shang and Ming, and Gentleman Bao-Yin confronting the magistrate, who appears to be up to no good and has framed Bao-Yin apparently for theft. We ended last time with Gentleman Bao-Yin, yes, indeed, tackling the magistrate with a deftly thrown scarf, and we will shortly see the results of that, as the magistrate is going to attempt to do battle with Gentleman Bao-Yin. So that's sort of roughly where we are. So the first thing we're going to do, though, before we get into the action proper, is in this game, everyone has entanglements. These are a set of relationships that kind of tie you in with the other players and NPCs in the world, and will hopefully generate some drama for us all. So again, just to briefly process the rules on these, in a moment you will get to select one of those that you want to highlight for this session. If you kind of interact with one of your entanglements, if you interact with the entanglement you have highlighted, you earn 2 XP. If you interact with the other one, you earn 1 XP. That's quite simple. We just do that at the end of the session, if I remember, which I might not. What I'll just do is ask people to quickly recap the entanglements that you have with the other characters. If there's one of the entanglements that you have, you think, actually, I'd rather change this up and do something different with it, then feel free to do so. But you're also free. Sorry, you are also free to use them as they currently exist, but you can choose one. You can choose to change one of them if you so desire. If you feel like the story has sort of moved on from a point where that entanglement is generating drama anymore. So I'll go back through in Character Keeper order, and I know if you could let us know what your entanglements are and if you want to change one of them.
Sure. So my first entanglement is that I love Ming, but I have sworn revenge against their family member, Undefeated Steel Ox. I believe that's Ming's uncle. That is because of Undefeated Steel Ox's involvement in the destruction of the Masters of Jade Lake. And my other entanglement is that I swore to Wu Pei Lim, that is my master, my former master, that I would protect Harmonious Evening Star Jin. But Jin would be offended if they knew about this. Since I guess you all would be in a better position than me to tell me if I should change any of them, since I wasn't here last time. Do they still fit?
Yeah, I think those both fit. If you're happy to keep up with both of those, I mean, it makes sense because you obviously weren't here last time to do anything that would make something else more tempting. So that sounds good. Which one of those do you think you'd like to highlight for this session?
Both. Let's do the love one.
Sure thing. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, Puckett, if you'd like to quickly just remind us of yours again, and once again, if there's one you want to change, feel free to do so at this point.
All right, my entanglements are, let me flip back over the character sheet here. I love Gentleman Bao-Yin, who I overlooked for too long. Now they love Changing Wind. And I suspect Ming's uncle, Undefeated Steel Ox, is the villain Black Hand, who murdered Master Wu Ping, my teacher and mentor. I'd kind of like to change the Ming one, but unfortunately, with the options I have available, there's not really anything better. So, unless we're going to be writing our own, that's kind of as good as it gets.
If you want to write your own, then yeah, that's fine. If you can think of something that's you'd rather focus on, then yeah, that's fine.
Well, and Parham, this comes in. This actually requires some input from you, because I intervened when Steel Fan accosted you last time, and kind of brokered the duel, and was planning on teaching you a few things to help you get through it and, well, not get stomped. So,
Right.
But I don't know what that entanglement would look like, because suddenly I'm embroiled in your conflict with Steel Fan.
Well, why would names? Why would your character? Sorry, remind me of the name.
Jin, Harmonious
Jen.
Evening Star Jin.
Yeah. Why would she want to help Ming? Or why would she want to prevent him from getting? So I mean, like, it could just be, hey,
because Ming is one person facing a gang of bullies.
Okay.
I mean, that's it right there. There's the motivation.
Yeah, but is there like something that causes you to react when you see someone being faced with a gang of police? Maybe something in the past that still holds true. Maybe, I mean,
Well, my
yourself
master was
are
murdered, so
true.
Yeah. I mean, the things that kind of
it's also a long-standing trope in, well, pretty much every kind, in every genre, like this, like
but I meant more like,
samurai flicks, whatnot.
Yeah, no, I meant more like, how can we turn this around into an entanglement? Because, so if you notice, the entanglements are more like, I want to do this, or I want to get to this goal, or I want to keep things as they are, but this thing prevents me, or this thing stops me. So like the point of them is that they are an obstacle. So if we want to turn this into an entanglement, so you want to help Ming, but we have to put an obstacle here, or
and here's the thing, because I'm looking at that second entanglement, and it says, I suspect Ming's uncle, Undefeated Steel Ox, is the villain Black Hand, who murdered Master Wu Ping, my teacher and mentor. So I'm wondering if, despite my dislike of your uncle and suspicion there, I still don't want to see you get beaten up badly. But I'm also thinking in the back of my head that this might be a way in to find out more.
I would say item number 2. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's good. So those would have been my. In fact, that kind of touched on two of my suggestions. Would have been two of my suggestions. One of which is like, I want to help Ming so that I can get close to his uncle. Might be one way of looking at it. Or from the other direction, I want to train Ming so that they don't follow the same path as their uncle, sort of thing. That kind, setting up that kind of redemption-y type.
As one of my favorite GIFs on Twitter says, why not both?
Yeah.
And I think both of them activate, like, both, I guess, and I guess, David, you tell me if I'm totally BSing here. I think both of them would mean interacting with the entanglement, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So like, I guess you can just keep the entanglement, and if the story goes any of those directions, you can mark your XP.
But no, I think you're right. I think that's possibly taking one of those other ones that we just sort of suggested might be a slightly stronger, because I think I think that makes sense.
All
If you want to,
right.
like I said,
Let me-
whatever combination of that you want to do, but I think we know what it is essentially that's the driver there. But if you want to find a way of phrasing that, that's cool. But you can
Let me
work
hack on
that.
this for a second while you move
Exactly,
on
yeah,
to somebody
yeah.
else.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, and Paham.
Yeah, so I was thinking of going for the one about I'm in love with changing wind, but they will not love me anymore if they learned of my history with what's the name? Why am I so bad with names?
Wu Pei
Wu
Lin.
Pei Lin. Yeah. But the problem is that I don't really remember what my involvement in getting this guy killed was. I'm not sure if I helped my uncle, if my uncle really did kill him. Does anyone have notes, or does anyone remember what this was?
I think it's probably fairly clear at the minute that it was your uncle who did the murder, or well, killed him anyway. We shall say. What extent you were involved is more. It's probably more just the fact that you are related to him that's causing the issues, rather than you were, especially as well because it was a little while ago. I believe this happened. So
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Okay.
like centuries, but like I think we said about 10, 15 years ago, probably this took place.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess this is a small town, and people know everyone's uh, like relationships, so it's pretty obvious that he is my uncle. I guess like if it turns out that I helped him in any way, or if I could have stopped him and didn't, or if it becomes 100% obvious that he killed him and I kept it hidden, um, then I guess that would be disentanglement, right?
Yes, and also the other thing as well is just sort of on the very, very briefly on the again sort of going back to the genre tropes and things. There is even with like even when like bad stuff like this has happened, there is kind of the very much the assumption that you will still remain loyal to your family even if they have done something
Okay.
Criminal. So kind of for you that there is there is still an expectation that you will like essentially remain loyal to your uncle, even though he may be a kind of a black-hearted murderer sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whether or not you
Yeah.
actually will or not is kind of where that tension comes in. But yeah,
Okay. Thanks. Yes, I'm going for this one.
cool.
Hey, David, how does that entanglement look?
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Perfect.
Am I next? I've lost track in
Uh,
the middle of all of that.
oh, sorry, we had the other one from Paham. That was I've learned my friend Wei has been betrayed by their teacher Righteous Cricket, but they will never believe me. Are you still cool with that one, Paham?
Yes.
Cool.
I think I don't have anything better to replace it with right now, so
No,
let's keep it
that's
there.
cool. And it plays into this general uncertainty around the whole Jade Lake thing. So that's cool. Yes, and Pearl. It's yep. You can your turn to go now.
Okay. So my two, actually was thinking of changing the first one very slightly.
Cool.
I still pursue Changing Wind, who rejected me despite the interference of Harmonious Evening Star Jin, who holds an unrequited love. I actually think I would rather not pursue her actively if she has rejected me. That seems dishonorable. So instead, I would just like it to be like, I love and will protect Changing Wind or something like that. That seems more honorable than an active pursuit. It is Gentleman Bao-Yin, as pointed out in the comments. Is that okay? Like the love aspect is still there, and like I would do all the same things except actively trying to, I don't know, someone rejects you, it's not very honorable to just be like, no, love me anyway. Hey, I know you're in love with someone else, but me, I'm the best. Even if you actually feel that way.
Yeah. Again, I just feel it needs a little something to make it more
Entangly.
yeah.
See, to me, that is more entangly, because if you are like loving and protecting someone, but are not going to like, we have to like watch them be in love with someone else, that's like about as entangly as it gets to me. But if that's not the right kind of entanglement, I will just leave it.
It's no, I mean, it's not exact. I mean, the problem, I think the problem is that that's kind there needs to be a reason that it's going to come up, if that makes sense, or going to cause problems essentially. So if you are just sitting back and not doing anything, it's just not really active enough, I think, is the issue with that.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like it sounds like she is acting on her love. She's just not acting with the hope of reward, which seems very wuxia to me.
Yeah.
What
like
if
inner conflict would come into play if I then saw Harmonious Evening Star Jin and Changing Wind interacting, right, in some...
And if Changing Wind was threatened, I mean, it presents an opportunity for Bao-Yin to jump in to assist with no hope of reward or any kind of reciprocation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does create that tension as long as situations provide it, where it turns into, I love this person, they don't love me, I can't make them love me, but I can still act on behalf of that love, even though it's not going to result in anything for me.
Could we change this to the simpler, I still love Changing Wind, even though they're in love with Ming?
Yeah. I think something like that might work. Or I was just thinking if there's a way of creating more of a more complicating relationship with Ming.
I mean, I could just leave it the way it is. It was
no,
just
that's okay.
I think it's a really great opportunity to involve Ming, and I mean this is if you all agree, involve Ming and Changing Wind and Gentleman Bao-Yin in a triangle, which is always like part of the genre and always.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
What if Bao-Yin is jealous of Ming and acts at cross purposes for Ming? Because if you're doing that, I mean, I'm already trying to take Ming under my wing to prevent them from being their uncle. Changing Wind loves them, so you'd be at cross purposes with Changing Wind.
Yeah, I think that's a strong one. That's kind of the hook I was looking for. So I think that's a good. Yeah, so like,
I mean, if that's okay with you, Pearl.
Yeah, no, if you
lost track of everybody in that sentence.
No, I think the gist of it is that so rather than making it purely just that you love so essentially still the first bit is the same. You love Changing Wind, but have been rejected and are respecting that. but you are jealous of Ming. Just adding that extra layer of complexity to it, essentially, that extra layer of interaction.
That's fine with me. I assumed I was going to be jealous of Ming.
Yes.
Because the person I'm in love with is in love with them. But we can make it explicit.
Yeah, I think that's
that makes it a lot easier to track if the entanglement itself.
cool.
Isn't jealousy part of the path that leads to the dark side?
Yeah, probably. Most things are.
I'm just trying to keep gentleman Bao-Yin gentlemanly. But as long as that's... hold on a second. I messed that up. No, I hate Google Sheets so much. Why do they always do this to me? 1 second. Just going to move some things around real fast.
This is like a 4-sided entanglement. This is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even tried to do one of the big murder boards to track everyone's relationships. They always look impressive, but yeah, I don't have enough paper on me. So
I think in this case, you just basically do that. It's always sunny in Philadelphia meme.
yeah.
Like all
What
the
does that mean?
strings and everything.
Cool.
So what's that mean?
It's just a picture of a guy with wild eyes gesturing at a wall covered with like newspaper clippings and pictures and printouts, and there's red string leading everywhere. It's like push pins with red string wrapped around it to try to link all these things together.
I can see how that might make sense to do for an entanglement.
Yeah.
It would just be very messy at this point for this game.
Cool. Yeah, and finally, Stephen.
Yes. Okay. My first entanglement is I love Hai Lao, who works in the kitchen of the Inn of the Drifting Lotus, but Madame Lao has sworn revenge against me because of my ties to the Jade Lake Temple. And my other one is I discovered Gentleman Bao-Yin has hidden their true identity from everyone because of their history with the Screaming Ghost Brotherhood. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to keep both of those.
Cool.
And I highlighted the Hai Lao entanglement last time, so I'll highlight the Bao-Yin entanglement this time.
Sounds good. Okay. Perfect. Right. So now I've got all those entanglements sorted. I am going to well, first I'm going to ask our new entrant this time. So changing wind, I'm going to have a question for you. When I okay, yes. So who is currently so basically who is currently at the inn that you are going to challenge? And were you expecting to find them here? So sorry, that's 3 questions. Sorry. Who are you going to challenge? Were you expecting to find them here? And why do you want to challenge them? This can either be kind of one of the other player characters, potentially an established NPC or a new NPC. Your choice on that.
So I'm. Let's just dive into it and say it's Undefeated Steel Ox.
Cool.
And that's I have. I know that he's there because, well, it's he's finally coming to town. I've been waiting for this moment a long time. And what was the third question again?
Why do you seek this challenge? That seems fairly obvious, given who you've chosen. Cool, thank you. So, it's changing wind as you approach the inn. It's a summer's evening. It's warm out still, a bit sticky. The sun has set by now, and the stars are starting to come out. Leading up to the inn, it's sort of set off just off the main Imperial Highway in this area. There's a neat little path leading up to the front of the inn. There are a couple of large ponds sort of around the front of the inn, which are covered in lily pads and lotus flowers blooming out of them. And you can see kind of lantern light is reflecting off of these ponds. As you walk up the path towards the door of the inn, you hear a commotion from inside. There is some shouting, the sound of furniture being unceremoniously knocked about the room. Probably some shouts shouts of combat, essentially. And we will switch back inside the inn, where, as I say, the magistrate who is I will give him a name now, because even though he hasn't actually introduced himself yet, he probably will shortly. The man is called. With me 1 second. Magistrate Zheng. And I'm just going to make a note of that quickly before I forget. So yes, Magistrate Zheng, he had been darting towards the door when you threw your scarf and entangled his legs, causing him to fall to the floor. He's kind of done one of those, like, flipped himself over, squirmed his legs out of the scarf, and he draws his sword and lunges towards Gentleman Bao-Yin. Bao-Yin, what do you do?
I probably don't have my scarf back yet, right? Because
no, it's just lying on the floor at the moment, where he's kicked it aside.
I'm going to employ one of the many techniques of the flying rabbit. Right? Flying rabbit. The dance of the flying rabbit. I'm going to make a very high-pitched squeal like rabbits do when they're threatened, which hopefully will throw him off, and then I'm going to leap through the air. Can I do that?
Of course. So yeah, just to
That's what rabbits do.
The way we kind of will do these, the way that these sort of fights will generally work is we'll just have a bit of backwards and forwards discussion and description with each other as how the fight goes, and then when we get to a pivotal moment, I will call for a roll to see how the fight turns out, essentially. So yes. the magistrate will lunge towards you as you leap out of the way, and he kind of clatters through, knocks over a table, spilling wine across the floor. He says, "Ha! I knew you were nothing but a coward, so-called gentleman Bao-Yin. Perhaps I will see you. I will see you hanged. I am Magistrate Zheng, and I will put an end to your misdeeds." And he comes in and lunges at you again with his sword.
Well, I have accidental, so I have +1 forward. The first time I fight a named opponent.
Cool.
Only I'm supposed to tumble through and flummox my opponents without actually knowing martial arts. So I'm trying to think of a way to describe how I'm flummoxing him. Ooh, I know. He spilled wine all over the table.
Yep.
So maybe the wine bottle broke.
Yep.
I've picked up the wine bottle and am brandishing it menacingly while hopping back and forth like a rabbit to get it away from his sword. And I will poke him with it if he gets too close.
Sure. He kind of darts in, but is careful to avoid, getting jabbed with a broken bottle. He says, "Surrender now, and this I will make this easier on you."
I'm going to do a backflip onto a table because tumbling is part of my thing, apparently. And then I'm going to throw the bottle at him.
Sure thing. And I
I
think,
don't think I can get close enough with the sword.
yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, and I think he pulls up the sword to parry the bottle, but the bottle smashes against it, and like shards of glass and wine spray into his face.
Dancing rabbit for the win.
And I will, so you can roll. This will be the duel move. He is on your scale. So you'll be rolling with your style element, whichever that is. And yes, as you say, from your move, from the accidental move, you get a +1 forward on the first time you fight them. So yeah, you'll be rolling with a +1 on top of your element.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. The styles have associated
That's right. I think your one is fire.
Good. That's a good one for rolling. So I'm rolling with like a +3.
Yeah, that's right.
Huzzah. The day is mine, maybe. No, it's not. Never mind.
Ooh. So
As always.
Yeah, so that's only a total of 5, I believe, which is a fail. So I will check. So I'll read through the results of the dual move. So if the foe's at your scale, blah blah blah. So yes, so you will. I think as I said, the bottle smashes against the blade and sprays wine and glass in his face, and he kind of looks away, but then shakes his head and lunges for you again. And I think this time, as you're sort of stood up on this table, I think as you go to kick off the table, it actually collapses out from underneath you and sends you sprawling on the floor. And he will quickly move over to you, put a foot on your chest, and hold the blade of the sword against your throat.
Well, I'm going to have some words with Madame Lau when all this is over about the structural integrity of her seating arrangements. But I think at this point, somebody else is going to have to step in.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I don't think my sloth can do it.
I got this.
Yeah, and he will say, "Gentleman Bao-Yin, you are under arrest." And he kind of does that kind of clicking his neck thing.
And I'm going to say, seems more like I'm under your foot, coward. Because I am under his foot.
Magistrate Zheng, there is, of course, one issue with you arresting him. And that is that every single person in this inn knows that you were the thief. Put your weapon down and surrender. And that will be the end of this.
Do not involve yourselves. Do not involve yourself in matters beyond you, old woman.
Ahem. I'm going to roll master.
Sure thing.
That is a... Oh, wait a minute. I have to say what stat I'm rolling with, don't I?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry,
All right.
one question, just for me learning the game. Does this mean that Pearl has to mark her element for losing the duel, or is this a
Failed
loss,
roll.
or is this an assist? How does this work?
No, so the it's just like a sort of standard PBTA thing. Failing a roll just essentially gives me the opportunity to make a hard move, which in this case I just used to basically.
Okay. And then how do you when do you mark mark an element? Is that when the battle is over and you lost, or how does that
When you
work?
fail the roll.
Yeah. So
Wow.
some. Oh, sorry. Actually, yes, you might be right. I'll double check.
I mean, I think
No,
you have
that's
I
right.
think you have the option of
Yeah,
telling her to mark an element, but you aren't required to make her
Yeah.
mark an element.
Some moves specify when you mark an element, but otherwise it's just another hard move that I have at my disposal, sort of thing.
Okay. Thanks.
But yeah, so
All right.
some moves do contain that as part of the mechanic, but yeah, the dual one doesn't, or at least doesn't, just for failing it.
Well, so with this roll, I got a 7 flat, and all I can do is get it to a 9, regardless of which stat I use.
Sure thing.
So it's going to be 7 to 9.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just flicking back to.
I have a moment to negotiate. I have to offer them something they want, or they will press the assault. So, what does Magistrate Zheng want?
So I think in this situation, probably the thing he wants so I think probably what you'd have to offer him is to let him escape. So I think it won't be too difficult to persuade him to actually release Bao-Yin peacefully, but he will want to get out of here for that because he can see that the room's turning against him.
Magistrate Zheng. Dozens of people saw the stolen jewels fall from your pocket. No arrest you attempt to make will be honored. It simply can't be. There is only one option for you at this point. Do you know what that option is, Magistrate Zheng?
And he kind of looks around and he notices as well Steel Fan Shang and his entourage who are glaring daggers at him as well. And he says, "Very well. I shall leave, but..."
Magistrate Zheng, there is no but. You will go into exile. You will flee. And you will make sure that we never see you again. And you will leave with your life.
And he takes the blade off of Bao-Yin's throat and steps back towards the door. And slips out into the night.
As he does so, I'm going to yell, "And a good riddance!" As though I were somehow responsible for that. But then I'm going to turn to have my cheat sheet here. To Evening Star Jin and say thank you for the honorable and kind defense that you provided me against that scoundrel.
Yeah, and I walk up to Harmonious Evening Star Jin as well and bow deeply and say that was very well done.
Thank you. And Master Wei, I find that I need to have a discussion with you at some point, but perhaps this could wait until tomorrow. For tonight, I have to help young Master Jin prepare for a duel.
Excellent. Right, we've just gone past the hour now, so we're going to take a 5-minute break there. And then we will come back and see if people want to start thinking about scenes they would like to see. I know obviously we've got the duel scheduled for the next morning, and obviously we'll give Changing Wind a chance to make their entrance as well. Will probably be the first thing we do, and then we can see what scenes people want to do, what people want to try and achieve. Pardon. And yes, cool. I will. We'll see you all back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
See you soon.
Cool. Right. So we're all back now, yes. Yeah, I know. Changing Wind. Do you want to make your entrance to the inn in whichever manner you feel fit?
So I imagine right as Magistrate Zheng rushes out the door, just sort of head bowed in shame. Changing Wind is in their way and has to sort of do kind of twirly sidestep, in which where you sort of feel there is a sort of wind blowing past with a single leaf, and Changing Wind is just not in the way anymore. And I imagine they sort of catch a glance, catch something. Maybe it's just a single strand of hair belonging to Harmonious Evening Star Jin, and as soon as like a slight moonbeam that catches it, and it catches in, and they instantly recognize Jin's hair, and Changing Wind just sort of run into the inn, taking it all in. It's he has this sort of straw top hat. It's a straw hat with a sort of it's a ball on top. Yeah. So this inn, is there? Is it like there's like multiple levels, or?
That's right. So as you come into the inn itself, so the inn building's is quite a large place. But the main room of the inn is quite large, mostly open, though there are some side rooms clearly. There's it's got those big wooden pillars, around, and some of the tables sort of clustered around those. There is one of those mezzanine floors in here, like a balcony running around most of the edge of the room. And there's clearly obviously stairs going up that lead to the higher floors in the building where the sort of rooms are. There's a big bar at the end. As you walk in, you have been around the Wulin long enough to immediately, feel the air and see the destruction. That means that a fight has just taken place. There are a couple of tables knocked over, drinks spilt on the floor. Though already a couple of young folk are coming out with brooms and starting to already sort of sweep up the aftermath. The people that you notice in here, besides the other players, are the Madame Lau herself. Is standing, arms folded, looking disapproving. She's a woman probably in her 50s or thereabouts, quite stocky, quite large, with powerful arms, and her steel grey hair sort of pulled back into a severe bun at the back of her head. There is Steelfan Shang, who is dressed quite finely, and he has a small entourage of people hanging around him. There are then a selection of various sort of travelers, merchants, and the like, sat at tables, though currently everyone's attention is focused on the devastation where this fight's just taken place.
Can I leap up and say something?
By all means.
So I think as Changing Wind comes in, I'm going to get to my feet as hastily as possible. And would bowing be appropriate? If so, I bow. If not, then not. Either way, give a warning about the glass on the floor and other things, and ask Changing Wind to please be careful not to become injured in the wake of what has happened here. Express my concern.
And I sort of scan the room. I look at. I see Ming, right?
You
here.
do indeed. Yep.
Yes.
Well, I presume.
So I will just say the forest is crowded, but the cypress knows its place, and I will bow lightly to Gentleman Bao-Yin, and move over to where Ming is at. So Ming, where are you? Are you?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up really badly. Can you repeat the end of what you said? I followed until you said the forest is crowded, and then the cypress still knows its place. What happened after?
I was I just nodded to Bao-Yin and headed over to wherever you are located in the inn.
Okay. Okay, so this is me not having no clue of the genre. How do lovers like greet each other? Like, because I think it's mostly like furtive glances and very concealed nods or smiles, or how does that work?
Yes. So, I mean, it sort of depends like, exactly what your relationship is like. But yeah, but probably not hugely demonstrative, particularly when you're sort of in public and in sort of, I guess, your public personas as well.
Okay, so I nod in greeting and offer Changing Wind a really broad smile, but you can totally see that I am worried. I have this habit of washing my hands when well, not literally, but like figuratively, like playing with my fingers when I'm worried about something. And you can probably very quickly pick up on the signs that something is bothering me about what just happened here at the inn, pretty much.
Um, how um I just I go over and um sit down and I ask how is tonight's tea?
I'm very accustomed to this beating around the bush thing. So I I look at my empty cup on the table and I'm like, yeah, it was very nice. It was nice in the beginning, but then it turned very bitter. And in the meantime, you can see me throwing glances at where Steel Fan Shang is standing, as if like trying to monitor him from a distance. Like, what is he up to? What's he doing? That kind of glances.
The wind changes at the blink of an eye. Do you blink?
What? Sorry, say that again.
The wind changes at the blink of an eye. And out of character, I ask, do you blink?
Yes, I blink.
Then I will put down. Then I will take off my my hat and sort of unbind my sword, and I will walk up to Steel Fan.
Yes. What is it? Steel Fan sort of says he's sort of he's actually you'll see now he's got the jewels that the magistrate dropped in front of him, and he's kind of inspecting them carefully for damage, as it were.
I hear the tea tastes bitter at this hour. Have you dropped something?
Are you accusing me of cheating?
How could an honorable person cheat?
Exactly. Now, do you have a point? If not, you can just run along. I've had quite enough of your company for one day.
Well, the inn can be quite crowded. Perhaps we should take a walk. The lily pads are quite lovely under the moonlight.
I do not think that will be necessary. I am quite comfortable here. If you wish to get some air, then I will not stop you.
I'm afraid the dragon lingers, and I tap my blade.
I have already agreed to duel the boy tomorrow. I suppose I can use you to warm up on if you really insist, but I have no quarrel with you.
I'd like to jump in on this.
Sure thing, sure thing.
My dear changing wind. It's getting late. Then I come in from chatting with Bao-Yin. My dear changing wind, it's getting late. And I still must speak with young Master Ming. Also, it is unseemly to interfere with a duel that both parties have agreed to. Perhaps this is something that can be taken up at a later date.
I think actually, what I'm going to do here, I probably should have done this earlier actually, but I think I'm going to ask if Changing Wind can make an inner conflict roll, please, to see basically whether he heeds kind of the counsel of basically to see whether he just loses his temper with Steelfan Shang over his needling about Ming. So the way this works with an inner conflict roll, you mark XP regardless just for rolling it, and you have to roll it with something that isn't your style element. And basically, if you fail, then you can just keep on doing whatever. If you anything below it, sort of on the 7 to 9, there can be issues.
All right. So I'll roll with water, I think, because that's flexibility and awareness.
Cool.
It's this time. I'll use realize if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Yep.
Okay, so that is a 4 total.
Right. Cool.
Hear Lee and David's voice is like, right, fine. By the way, David, Changing Wind is a she, I think.
Oh, sorry.
I haven't really defined it yet, but I think it might fit well with being a she. So
Cool.
dresses a little bit ambiguously, though, as you can see by the image.
No worries. Cool. So, yeah. I think as you are, as Jin is kind of counseling you to stay out of this duel with Shang. One of the side rooms, there's a sort of dining, sort of some of the dining room, private dining rooms, a side door will slide open, and an imposing figure will step through. He's tall, over 6 foot tall. He has kind of quite long black hair, though threaded through now with silver, tied into a warrior's plait down the back, and a big dark beard, again laced with silver. It is, as you will immediately recognize, none other than the sorry, losing names again. Undefeated Steel Ox. He doesn't like appear even to notice you, but he comes out of the dining room and heads over to the bar where a drink is. He orders a sort of a pitcher of wine. And also you can, I think, mark your water.
Yeah, Changing Wind will acknowledge Harmonious Evening Star Jin with a look, and there's and he will stand very still. There's it's taking a tremendous force of will now just to not to spring into action immediately. But there is this matter of steel fan that is has to be resolved somehow, and I think there's just tremendous inner turmoil now in the Changing Wind, and you can see his hand, the hand that holds the sword, it's starting to shake a little bit. I think it's very noticeable to someone like Evening Star Jin. So I'd like to
My
see
dear friend, should we perhaps sit for a moment? Please. Changing Wind.
Yes. Let us sit.
Let us sit. Let us ask for some freshly brewed tea. Mint, perhaps, to settle our stomachs.
Mint is supple. We will sit.
I believe we both have the same thing on our mind, although I believe that that has changed in the past few moments. And I believe that the change means we still have the same thing on our mind. It is just now different than what we were sharing, than the thought we were sharing moments before.
You speak with a wisdom worthy of a master. Let us sit and drink, and when we can only see the tea leaves at the bottom of our bowls, we will act again with calmer minds.
My dear friend, I
Yes.
think we both know that tonight is not the time. We must be careful. We must plan. And we also must act decisively. And I think tonight, both of us are focused on ensuring that young Master Ming is protected and cared for.
Nice. Cool. I think I'm going to pop briefly over to Wei. And were you saying you wanted to have a chat with Bao-Yin earlier?
Yeah, I don't have anything specific in mind. I just wanted to highlight that entanglement. So, Pearl, do you have any ideas for?
Let's see. Wait. Ming or Wei wanted to talk to me.
Wait.
Okay. That's
Ming
what I
is
thought,
the
but
guy who seems to be having a very stuffy nose.
Oh.
Well, he
I have
is.
my note sheet with all of your names on it. And our entanglements and things. Let's see. So your main entanglement way is that you love Hai Lao, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I love Hai Lao, and also I know your true identity.
Oh, that's the other big one. I forgot to write that one down. So you guys decided later. I feel like I'd be avoiding you if you know my true identity, but I'll go over to you anyway. Do I know that you love Hai Lao?
I think I've been pretty obvious about it. I think the children are all laughing about it, so you probably would have picked up on it. Yeah.
And also, do you go by Wei Auspicious Dumpling or just Wei? I would enjoy calling you Auspicious Dumpling, but I don't want to. That's not the thing I don't want to.
I mean, you could call me Auspicious Dumpling if you wanted. It is something that people call me, and they also call me Wei. It just depends on which they prefer.
Okay. Let's see. Wei, Auspicious Dumpling of the Jade Lake Temple. I have not spoken to you in many days.
That is quite remarkable, since I only came to the inn a couple of days ago. Oh, yes. Oh, but yes, I am very, very pleased to see you, gentleman Bao-Yin. I could not help but noticing your recent altercation. I hope you are not in any any trouble. I mean, clearly that scoundrel of a magistrate was entirely unjustified in accusing you, but I can't help wondering, and I sort of lower my voice, if there is some deeper plot involved.
I fear you may be right.
Sorry,
But what? Sorry. I fear you may be right, but I don't know what it is, and I'm disinclined to wait around to find out. It is my plan to try to uncover whatever nefariousness is here. But you, I imagine, have different reasons for visiting the inn.
And I blush a little, and yes. Well, I find it is a charming inn, isn't it?
Truly, truly, one of my favorite places to stop on my journeys. Shall we have a bit of tea? Perhaps Hai Lao is in the kitchen tonight, and we might bid her good day.
Yes, and I think I blush a little. I blush even more, and yes, and like I wave down one of the children who's running around the inn, and I ask, I tell, would you tell Hai Lao that Gentleman Bao-Yin would like a pot of chamomile tea?
I'm going to not correct anything about that. I will take on the responsibility for the tea, even though I do not like chamomile tea. I will pretend for Way's sake.
Cool. So yes, the child will scamper off to place the order. And not long thereafter, a pot of tea will be brought out by Hai Lao.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this interaction to Wei.
Yes, and I think as Hai Lao, she brings out two cups, and she carefully pours the tea for us, and there's the pot on the table, and I'm just looking at her with obvious adoration, and she is blushing slightly, and
I will say something because clearly this is going to get awkward otherwise with all the blushing and whatnot. Thank you very much, Hai Lao. Your tea pouring, as ever, is graceful, and the tea of the exact right temperature, as always.
Thank you for your kind words, Gentleman Bao-Yin.
I'm giving it like as non-obvious a pointed look at Wei as possible.
yes,
Come on, man.
yes. As always, you are a gracious host, Hai Lao. We are fortunate to be guests at such a delightful inn with such delightful service.
Thank you, Wei. I am glad to see you here again.
Do you have a break coming up in which you might join us for tea and talk of what has been happening in this land recently?
Oh, well, I suppose I could, yes.
We would love for you to join us.
And I think she's going to head off and return with another teacup and join you at the table. You will notice that Madame Lau does not currently appear to be here. She has gone off on some other business about the inn.
Yes, and I noticed that the Lu, who was hurrying to help you out in your fight with the magistrate, is now almost halfway down the stairs.
Indeed. I noticed the same thing, and I'm going to politely excuse myself. Wei, hi Lao. I apologize for needing to interrupt our tea, but it does appear that Li Lu is in need of a bit of assistance. So I will. I need to go attend to my sloth. Please enjoy the tea, and I will return when Lilu is well taken care of. I'm going to wander off to pick up my sloth and take him back to the room.
Yeah, and I think Hai Lao starts to pour herself tea, but I stop her. I put my hand on hers, and I take the teapot and I pour tea for her. And when I put the teapot down, but I still hold. I'm still holding her hand like under the table.
Yes, and I think she is still blushing somewhat, but yeah, she sort of squeezes your hand back under the table.
My heart flutters.
And she lets out a sigh and says, I am sorry, Wei. You know the fondness I feel for you, but I do not know why, but Madame Lau does not trust you, does not think you are. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but she will. I fear she will never let us be together.
Okay. Do you think this is an inner conflict roll?
I think it probably is. Yes.
I forgot to specify. Yeah. And I feel like I would have rolled that one with water. So cool. that is a 6.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I think that we will go for. So I think I'm going to ask you to mark water, and I think that I think that Wei is going to say something that he shouldn't, or say something. Yeah. What do you think that would be?
I will not allow Madame Lau to dictate our love. I will go confront her at once. And I get up from the table and I go charging into the kitchen in search of Madame Lau.
Brilliant. Awesome. So I think what I might do now is I know that Puckett wanted a scene with Ming in sort of preparation for the duel tomorrow morning. So I think maybe if we see that now, if that's cool.
Okay.
Fine by me.
Yep, cool.
Me too.
And before we start that, I'm gonna clear a couple of dice here. Damn it. Let's clear everything then. I want to roll for Hidden Dragon. I'm going to make a couple things, I think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted. Yeah, sure thing.
Oh, and that is a natural. I forgot to say what it's with, but it's a natural 11.
Nice.
So
nice.
kind of doesn't matter what it's with because I only have stats that are plus left.
Yeah,
Or that
sure
aren't
thing.
checked off. So Hidden Dragon allows me to build strange devices and gadgets. Say what you wish to build. We create an engine will tell you what you need. Nothing, time, materials, assistance, secret lore. Once I have it, roll. Oh, once I have it, roll. So basically, what I want to do, I just want to make a couple of simple little smoke bombs and stink bombs. You know, just disorienting stuff for the duel that Ming has coming up.
Sure thing.
Can we just assume that that's stuff that I would have found in the kitchen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. No, that's because I think that makes. I think you can probably find some stuff, and
I mean, a little bit of gunpowder, a little bit of like garlic powder, that sort of thing. For
I imagine that because you have this move, I imagine that you carry kind of like a maybe like a sort of apothecary case or something with you anyway.
A bag of tricks, as it were.
Yeah.
Like I'm Felix the cat.
Yeah.
All right. And then Final Master. Let's see what we get with this. And I suppose I should actually like pick a stat to roll with. Let's roll with water for wisdom and awareness.
Sure thing.
That's 12.
Yeah, perfect.
So, and I have a plan to help Ming. So I get to hold 2. While carrying it out, I can spend it to add 1 forward to a roll, clear an element, or have a vital item at hand. So I'll not jot down that I hold 2. And as the case in every training sequence ever, we need a montage.
Indeed, yeah. Let's get a little montage with Ming and Jin doing this training.
One question here. Clearing an element and adding +1 to roll and stuff, does that mean to Jin's role or to Ming's role or to whoever that is involved in the plan's role?
It says I can spend my hold to add +1 forward to a roll.
Yeah,
so that means anything, right?
That's correct. Yep. Basically anything that someone is doing as a part of your plan, whether it's
so as long as we're following Jin's plan, we she can do this stuff.
Exactly. Yep.
And then clear. What does clear an element mean?
So that means to untick it, basically. So if you've currently got it checked, you can uncheck it so that you can roll with it again.
So if, for example, Ming rolls with their main stat for combat and they miss and have to mark it, I can unmark it for them.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
The other thing I will mention, I'll get into that in a second, actually, but about unchecking elements, but we'll get to that in a moment. So that's not an issue now. So yes, no, go ahead.
Young Ming, please follow me. We are going to go down to the lake where you'll be having your duel in the morning. And I believe I have a few things that may be useful to you and perhaps some suggestions that might aid you in your fight. Walk with me. We go down to the spot where we're supposed to have the duel. Young Ming, describe what is around us.
So I seem a bit stressed, but prompted by the question, I focus a bit more, and I say, There is water, a lot of water, and many plants. I wave at them. I don't seem to be particularly engaged with the surroundings. I seem to be just answering the question very literally. And there is lots of dirt.
Young Ming, a warrior must always be aware of their environment, because you never know what in your environment can aid you. In this case, for example, you're missing the trees. Yes, it's true that there's a bit of a clearing. Yes, there are plants. Yes, there is dirt. Yes, if you walk a little bit farther down, there's plenty of water. We are after all, on the shore of a lake. But you are missing the trees. Look at them. What do you think you might be able to do with the tree that would help you in combat?
So at this moment, I have a broad grin as I realize, oh, I could do what I do best and set traps.
Among other things, yes. I want to roll inner conflict, because I'm trying to figure out if I should disclose how much of the Silent Forest School's techniques I know.
Yep, that sounds fair. So yes,
And let's see.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'd like to roll with Earth because of caution.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a 10.
Cool. Yeah, you may act as you wish.
Alrighty. What does... Give me 2 seconds here to go back over to the basic moves, see what that gives me.
I
Inner
think we're
conflict.
looking for a new secret move or what is that? New technique? Can you teach someone a new technique, or do
Okay.
they have to figure it out by
Market
themselves?
That would be a role that Pahan would make, but basically you doing some training would give him the justification to make that move, essentially.
Sure.
Also, if you want to spend one of your hold from your final master to help boost the roll, then you can do so.
Okay. Young Ming, I feel as though that I can trust you. I am not sure why. Perhaps it's your youth, perhaps it's your inexperience, perhaps it's your concern and your fear. I'm going to share something with you that few people know. I am the only surviving master of the Silent Forest School. This, the forest, is my weapon. If you're amenable, I can teach you a few things to aid you. I obviously can't teach you everything because we simply don't have the time for that. But I can teach you a few things that I can promise you Steel Fan does not know. To Steel Fan, the only weapon is the one in his hand. To you, every single thing around you will be a weapon.
So
What
Ming
do you
nods
say?
pretty eagerly and smiles very broadly, although you can see that he momentarily seemed shocked about the fact that you mentioned the
The Silent Forest
Silent
School.
Forest School. Yeah. He momentarily seems a bit on edge until you say that you trust him. But yeah, I wait. Should I roll an inner conflict roll for this?
Considering who your uncle is, that seems fair.
Okay, so this is me trying to figure out if I should keep the secret that I know that my uncle killed. What's his name? Pei Ling, I think. Wu Pei Ling, right?
I believe it's Wu Ping. Give me 2 seconds. Yes, Wu Ping.
Wu Ping, okay.
You may have gotten Wu Pei Lim and Wu Ping mixed up.
Ah,
Understandable.
wait, did he kill that too? Okay, so I'm going to go for +1. I'm going to go roll with wait, let me look at my stats and see which one would make sense. I'm going to go for control. So I'm going to go for metal, which
Sure.
is 0. Crappy choice, but oh well. Okay, got a 10.
Nice, nice. I will just give
I
you
survived this one.
1 XP just for rolling. So yeah, I've added that to your sheet. Cool. So yeah, you're able to again act as you wish in this circumstance.
Okay. So I decide to withhold the information for now. So yeah, I don't say anything, but I seem to be listening very closely to what you're saying and very involved in your words.
First of all, I made what you might think of as some party favors for you. Here. And I hand over a couple of smoke bombs and a couple of stink bombs. They are, of course, different colors. The smoke bomb is black and the stink bomb is green. And I say, pay attention to the colors on these. The smoke won't really affect you. It will allow you to hide. Now, on the other hand, the stink bombs will affect anybody who touches them or is touched by them. So make sure that you're upwind from it. So otherwise, you will be suffering right along with Steel Fan. But right now, I want to teach you something called the falling leaf technique. And that involves using the trees to gain elevation to strike at your foe from an unpredictable angle and with greater force. And at this point, I turn to a tree that seems much too slender to be of any use whatsoever and delicately run up at about 20 feet in the air, flip, and leap off of the tree and come back down with what sounds like a thunderclap of force. Do you see, young Master Ming?
Yes, I do. And
I want you to try that.
So, this is where the montage of me backflipping way head over heels 10 times probably happens.
Well, running up the tree and falling because you're trying
Yeah.
to run vertically and, a whole bunch of stuff like that. But yes, I think it finishes with you nailing the technique.
Well,
and I think that probably hits sometime around dawn.
I guess I have to roll with that to see if I can totally nail it, or how does this work, David?
Yeah, that's right. So there is a role called there is the move called lost it again. It's on the other page, other tab. They're called New Technique on the other moves tab. So when you go off to develop a new technique to face a foe of high scale, describe your montage and roll plus the number of times you've seen your foe's fighting form. On a hit, you gain scale against them. On the 7 to 9, you gain. There's also a cost to learning the move. I'm going to say that you can roll this with +1 because you have, though we haven't seen you confront Steel Fan on screen yet, it has been established that you have fought in the past. So
yeah, I was like, that was the confusing part, because I was like, I've been bullied, so that means I've met him many times.
yeah.
But we can say roll +10. Okay, so I'm gonna do a +1. Okay, that's an 8.
Okay, cool. So yes, you at this point you could. I suppose actually, if Puckett, you could spend both of your hold if you wish to take that to a 10. I think.
And what's the difference between an 8 and a 10 at this point?
So on a 7 to 9, there's a significant cost to learning the move. So you still learn the technique, you still get scale on them, but there's some cost to doing so.
Is that a general just cost, or is there options that I need to pick?
It's just as of a narrative cost. Yeah. What do you think that you would?
Okay. Because I'm also thinking that I can burn one of my bonds. Wait, let me see if I have any. I have a bond with Jin, for example, that I can burn, and then Jin can spend just one of the holes to get me to 10. Would that work?
That's that would work as well. Yep.
All right. Let's do that.
Change that to.
Got 1 hold remaining.
Perfect. So yes, you have learnt a new technique that will give you scale against. Cool. So
Sorry, do you track these moves and stuff anywhere? Like the techniques that we just invent in the game, or are they just narrative?
That's just narrative. Yeah, I mean, if you want to make a note of it, just so you remember the name and stuff, then that's cool. But no, it's not like we don't need to record that specifically. I'll just remember that you have you are now equal scale to Steel Fan. That's cool. So yeah, I said we'll call it a quick 5-minute break there. Then we'll come back. We'll see the confrontation with Madame Lau. We will see this duel. And I said, if there is other things people want to do, then be thinking about those and let me know at the beginning when we get back, or at any point, obviously. Cool. All right, see you all in 5 minutes. Awesome. I think that's everyone back now. So yes, one thing I will, as I say, I know we've got a couple of upcoming scenes, but one thing I will point out as well is that one of the ways that you can clear your marked element, clear one of your marked elements, there is a move called Comfort and Support, which does it, which someone can use on you. But one of the ways of doing it is between scenes, you can narrate a short montage where you which should revolve around dealing with or purging the negative aspects of that marked element or something like that. And you can do that to clear to clear a mark from one of your elements. So between scenes, if you so wish. But yeah, I think where we're going to pick up is with we'll go first to. Actually, no. I think I will see. We'll see changing wind in the forest. I think first.
Yeah. All right. So we see changing wind standing with her eyes closed, with the sort of leaves fluttering on the trees in the background. And it's sort of clear that she is, well, her face is quite still, but there's a slight downturn of one lip, and then she unsheaths the lingering dragon and just springs into action, just sort of pounding the ground with the blade. We have one of these scenes where you see sort of the blade sort of bend and ripple and then hit the ground, and leaves leave the ground, float off the ground, and changing wind steps lightly onto one of the leaves and to the other and the third and the fourth, and well, leaps up into the air and hits one of the leaves on one of the trees with the tip of her blade, and it propels her even further up, and she ends up on top of one of the trees, just standing with her toe on top of the tallest leaf, and we can see her. Well, she's sort of just meditates a little bit, and then she sees in a clearing somewhere. She sees Ming and Harmonious Evening Star Jin, and we see and she sees Ming finally sort of nailing a perfect falling leaf, and there's sort of a tenderness to changing wind's face, but then she sees, I think, in another clearing, she sees Undefeated Steel Ox, and there's just this sort of moment of, moment of doubt, or of tension rather. She knows of the duel, of course. So
yeah, I think probably where she sees Undefeated Steel Ox, he's actually out. He has one of the big rooms at the front of the inn, with a big wooden balcony that looks out over the ponds below, and he is out there, stood on the balcony, just seems to be looking out at the night sky with a drink in hand. Do you wish to make a study roll on him? Because you have an opportunity to sort of watch him whilst he is not aware of your presence at the moment.
yeah, definitely. So let's see what I'll use then. I'll use fire. This is my passion, I think, for avenging my master. Okay, that's an 8.
Yep. So yeah, what you will see him stood there. There's you see he seems not exactly tense as such, but he's clearly, he looks pensive. He looks like he's considering something. He doesn't look like he's celebrating here particularly. but at the same time, he doesn't seem to be, neither does he look like hugely depressed, but there definitely seems to be something weighing on him, you'd say. And on a 7 to 9, you get 1 hold, which you can use to ask a question about you can ask a question about a situation or a place, ask a question about a person, learn his scale, or reveal a detail where you can actually declare something about the scene or about him or whatever.
Excellent. But yeah, that's a hold, so I can sort of keep it for later. Or should I do it immediately?
It will sort of have to be kind of while you're still observing him. It's essentially
Right.
hold for whilst this observation is going on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, let's ask what is what is his desire at the moment? Why what sort of mental state is in?
Yeah. So I think you will see you almost don't notice it, but a figure appears on his balcony. It almost seems like they've come from nowhere until you realize they've probably come from climbed around the side of the building or something, but they kind of almost seem to just merge out of the shadows on the balcony. And though they're a little far away, you can just make out what they're saying. And you you catch just a little conversation between this shadowy figure and Undefeated Steel Ox, and he says the gist of it you get is that they say, "I've learned that there may be another survivor of the Jade Lake Temple. There's the one we already know of, but apparently there may have been another, scarcely more than a child, when the temple was destroyed. How much they know, I am not sure, but..." And Steel Ox just nods and says, "We cannot risk that they may know the secrets of the Jade Lake, find them, and they must be destroyed as well." Then the figure merges back into the shadows again.
Cool. As I hear that, I will just leap into action as I'm going to try to chase this figure.
Excellent. Cool. So I think that will be we'll make that an overcome roll, I think, when you try and do something under pressure. So yeah, I think that's the most apt one. So again, yeah, choose your element as you wish, and then make the roll.
Yeah, I think fire is fitting. Okay, that's a 12.
Nice. Okay, so you will see the figure. You'll catch them. They are sipping sort of into the forest as well, and you will kind of follow them through there. They're moving away stealthily, but they're not moving with any particular speed because they don't realize that they are being chased until it's too late. When they do become aware of you, they will try and escape, but you catch up with them with no problem. And we will pause that, and we will visit the kitchens of the inn where Wei is going to confront Madame Lau. So the kitchen is unsurprisingly hot and steamy, and there's numerous people going about. I suppose it's probably by this point there's less actual cooking going on and more like people cleaning up and washing stuff and putting away food and all that sort of stuff. Madame Lau is overseeing things and sipping from a glass of rice wine.
I walk up to Madame Lau. I bow like so deeply that my forehead actually slaps the floor, and I pop up and I say, "Madame Lau, I must protest your cruel and unjust treatment of Hai Lao and myself. Our love is pure. I will perform any honorable task to prove my worthiness and suitability as her husband." And I think I'm trying to. I think I want our hearts and minds to win over the children who witnessed this speech.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll roll with fire for passion.
Certainly.
And that's a 10.
And I think Madame Lau, her gaze is stern, but you can just see that very slight softening of her eyes. And she says, "I know, my dear, that you are a passingly honourable, I suppose. But it does not change the fact that you are a penniless wanderer. And you would not at all be suitable for my Hai Lao. If you were to prove yourself a man of means, I suppose that I would be willing to let you marry, but I have no doubt you'll fail at this, and I fear even if you do, you'll bring nothing but trouble to the poor girl. But there you have it. There are my terms. If you can bring a sufficient dowry or other proof of your suitability, then I will allow the marriage to go ahead."
I bow again. I mean, not quite as though this time because my forehead is kind of sore. But yeah, and I say, "You are very generous, Madame Lau. I will I will prove myself a man of means. And I think the children cheer at that. And I walk out and I go looking for Gentleman Bao-Yin, who, of all my friends, is the one who knows the most about making money.
Indeed, indeed.
So, Gentleman, where is Gentleman Bao-Yin at the moment? Is he back at the table?
I mean, I needed to take care of the sloth. So I took it upstairs, and then I put in the chat that I was had gone out to the forest to sadly feed him some leaves. But I don't know that I actually did that. I don't really have an idea of what my character's doing. So if you want to hard frame it, I'll just go with it. I
think that's fine. It's like, so I find Howlin at the table, and I give her the good news that Madam now has agreed to our marriage as soon as I provide a suitable dowry. And then I go looking for Gentleman Bao-Yin, and I find that they've gone to the forest. So I go chasing after them. And there are all kinds of people I could run into in the forest, aren't there?
I imagine so.
So, cool. I think we will. Yeah, we will see the shadowy figure who sorry, I'm blanking on names as ever. Changing Wind track down as you kind of catch up with them. You see they are dressed entirely in sort of like flowing black robes with a black veil. And when they realize they are cornered, they will flick a long, sharp blade from one of their sleeves. And they will then they with without saying anything, they will move in to stab Changing Wind.
Yep. So Changing Wind will lift the blade and block the first blow with the scabbard, and then draw the blade, which sort of sings with a low hum. Cool.
And I think you kind of see the assassin's hand tremble as you block the blade, and they kind of they leap backwards up onto a low branch of a tree and fling a small dart out of their other sleeve towards you.
Yeah, and I will sort of fling my own dart, which is a needle, which is sort of attached to my the hilt of my blade with a silk thread, and I will sort of intercept that needle midair, and then sort of fling it as the needle falls to the ground. I will sort of hit it with my blade and back onto the shadowy figure.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think at this point I will ask you to make a duel roll. So yes, I think that this person is lesser in scale than you. They are just a flunky at the end of the day. Yeah, you will roll with your style element.
That is an 8.
Okay, so on an 8, you will. You can either let them escape, or you can finish them, but with a cost now or in the future.
Oh, I definitely want to finish them with a cost.
Excellent. Is there anything in particular that you want? You want as a cost now, or do you wish to give me that as a blank check to use later?
May I suggest something?
Sure.
Well, since you went after Steel Ox alone, and you know that I have an interest in it, don't you think that perhaps one of the costs might be that I'm very angry with you, and how that might affect our relationship?
Yeah, though this isn't Steel Ox specifically.
No, but you went after his cronies, you went by yourself. What if this had turned into something bigger? What if you had killed Steel Ox on your own?
Yeah. Sure. That is.
It shows a lack of planning and foresight. And Harmonious Evening Star Jin is very much about planning and anticipating outcomes.
Yep.
Just a thought.
Definitely acting out of passion, partially here. But maybe you can have a future cast as well, David. And
sure thing. Yes. So you, you get to describe how the rest of the fight goes and how you dispatch this shifty assassin type.
Yeah. So this the needle that I sent back, it stabs into his what's it called? Lower leg. The sort of acupressure point that freezes up his entire leg, and or their entire leg. Sorry. And I just spin around and send a gust of wind up with my sword, and that blows him off the branch. And I jump over and just put the scabbard to their throat, and I will say, the Jade Lake remembers. We are not dead.
Nice. Yeah, and it becomes clear once bodies hit the ground that this is a member of the Veiled Knight, the Order of the Veiled Knight, an infamous band of assassins. You recognize their distinctive, robes.
And I I sort of lean down and ask, who are you after?
I will tell you nothing.
And I will send my needle out to hit a few more acupressure points, which sort of locks them up completely. And I will just take them on my back and carry them home to my little I'm a wandering swordsman, so I'm not sure where I would go. Maybe there's like a tea house, or since I don't have a school, there's maybe it would be Harmonious Evening Star Jin's place, if she has a place in the town.
I'm just an itinerant traveler at this point.
All right,
The
so
temple was burned down.
how
Maybe
about
you can take him to the forest where Jin is and Ming is, and I mean, you can run into Jin there, you can run into Ming there, and you can try to keep him hidden.
yeah, yeah. So I think I'm probably a little bit ashamed because of or of when I think about my allies, my closest allies, and how they Jin and Ming, how they are actually they're not supporting this move, or they would probably not support this move. But so I think I sort of hesitate. I think I move in that direction, and I hesitate. And I probably since Gentleman Bao-Yin is there, or is close by, I might run into him. But yeah, so maybe we should cut away to Jin and Ming.
So yeah, I think actually what I'm going to do now is just frame us to the next morning and the duel. We may revisit what's happened now, or we may just pick up from the aftermath of it later on. But yes, I think what we will see is there will be a small gathering by the lakeside. Obviously, all of Steel Fan Shang's entourage will be present. There will probably be a couple of other people who were just like hangers on. Just people hanging around the inn who will also come out to watch because nothing beats a good duel. Of course, any of you who wish to be present can also be present.
Well, I kind of need to be present. Somebody needs to ensure that the duel is fair and that it ceases when there is a clear victor before any serious damage is done.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I'll show up for the duel too. I was the one who noticed that he was deaf in one ear, which
yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to be there as well, since Ming is my love.
Cool.
And I'm sure Bao-Yin's there because Lilu's probably sitting comfortably in a tree chewing some leaves or something.
Works for me. I'm always happy to sit with Lilu.
So, all the necessary formalities are taken care of, and Steel Fan Shang will be stood there. He is wearing actually quite slightly more simple clothing than before. Though still of very good quality, but he is in his sort of full-on martial gear. He has a He has a sword in one hand and a large steel fan in the other. And he stands and declares and says, Ming, I give you one last chance now to apologize for your various insults against me and my family. And if you do so, then you may leave the field of battle, the field of the duel now, with no more need to draw steel between us.
So there is a very drastic change in Ming this morning. He seems a lot more confident because he just spent the whole night training. He seems pretty energetic and confident as he steps closer and leans his quarterstaff on the ground and says, "It's you who should apologize for taking advantage of me all those years. And if you apologize, you can walk off the dueling grounds. And otherwise, we should see once and for all who can learn and grow and who will always stay where he is as he'll always deserve."
I'd like to make a study roll really quickly.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to roll with wood.
Go for it. Yeah.
That's a 12.
Cool.
The dice favors the Jin. That's great.
So that means I gain basic information in 2 holds.
Yep.
So I can declare details which change or add the fiction significantly, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And I can do that twice?
Yes. Yep.
All right, carry on.
Cool. Yeah, I mean the basic information that you'll get here is that he Steel Fan Shang is clearly confident in his ability to beat Ming. There's no real anger here. It's just he knows he's the better fighter and he's not going to take any nonsense from someone that he's better than, basically.
With stating details, does that mean that Steel Fan Shang would roll at a disadvantage, or perhaps could Ming roll at an advantage?
There's not particularly. No, there's nothing quite like that. But you can sort of just introduce any sort of details you want as as we go through. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So Steel Fan Shang will say, I will offer you no apology. The way of the warrior is to seek strength, and that you have insufficient to challenge to match me is regrettable, but no, nothing I need to apologize for. And he, affects a stance, his sort of blade held out, fan weaving around, and he kind of makes that kind of gesture with his sword to basically, essentially to invite you into attack.
Okay, so I start moving around him to get an idea of his balance and how he's changed, or if he has changed or not. I remember the fact that Wei had revealed to me last night that he is deaf in one ear. So I just throw random taunts at him as I go around to see which one he doesn't react to, because I don't know which ear it is that he is deaf on.
Sure thing, yeah, and you will notice it. You kind of you see him kind of as you get onto the one side of him. You see him sort of shifting his head a bit more than he perhaps should, just to kind of keep hearing what you're saying. It does seem to be distracting him slightly.
Great. Okay, so I make a few experimental jabs with my quarterstaff to see what, like, to check his defenses.
Yeah, he's very light on his feet. He spins around. He primarily uses a steel fan to parry with, and as he parries, he'll sort of come in and with a jab in return with his sword.
Yeah. Okay. So I try to jab and push him back toward two of the trees behind him,
Yeah.
where I'm going to reveal that I've laid a trap. So the point is to see if I can get him to focus on me and trip on the trap and fall backwards into it. So that would be me rolling for the House of Traps.
Sure thing.
I don't remember if I need to roll with my element or how.
You choose an element. It doesn't have to be your style element.
Okay. So I will go for water. Yeah, I'll go for water. So whoops. That's a 5. Well, I tried. Wait, let me see. Can I burn my bond with I'm burning through my bonds pretty nicely today. My bond with changing wind.
Probably not. This fight doesn't really involve them.
Oh, so it has to involve that person. It's not just randomly burning.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. The role has to sort of be either be against them or involving them in some way. So, I think you. I think that he. You see as he's stepping backwards, his foot brushes the tripwire, and he pauses, and he looks at you. He with a he grins. It's not a friendly grin, but he says, "Oh, you really do want to win this, don't you? Well, it'll take more than your cowardly tricks to get the better of me." And you can mark water, which I will do, and then he lunges back towards you, and he just lunges towards you with his sword.
Yes, I try to keep him away by just using the longer reach of my quarterstaff to attack his lower side, where it's a bit harder to block with his fan, I guess.
Sure thing, yeah. And I think at this point we will go for the dual move.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one will be with your style element.
So yeah, this is Montai style again, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. So with my +1. Ooh, that is a a 4.
Oh dear.
Nice. Today I'm not having good rolls.
So I am going to.
I think I can take Jin's 1 + 1 to get to 5, but still I'm far off.
Yeah. So I think. I think what happens here is that you keep him busy, you keep deflecting his blows, but even with your new technique, he is pressing you hard, and you I think it's at this point that you obviously have these bombs, this like the smoke bomb and stuff that Jin gave you. You sort of throw a smoke bomb at him, dart away, escape from him. He comes after you, and you lead him into another trap you've set in the forest, and that knocks him down. And eventually, you do manage to beat him, but it is very clear to everyone present that the only way you managed to beat him was through trickery. And not through martial prowess. So it's seen as a win, but it's not seen as a clean win. He will very begrudgingly bow to you and say, well, it seems your tricks have won you the day today, Ming. But if ever you choose to face me in a fair fight, I have no doubt the outcome will be quite the reverse, and he will storm off from the field of battle. And I think that is where we will leave it for this evening. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm just going to flick into the other tab now and stop recording. So thank you very much, and see you all next time.